Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, comedy on Power Talk. Thank you so much for making us part of your day today, and what an honor it is to welcome back a friend of the program and a guy that it was just kind of cosmic because it felt like we were just throwing the ball around, passing the ball around, which is really in music the best. It's the best formula for creating spiritual music, and my guest continues to inspire on the bandstand when we are not in the middle of COVID. Aaron Sperske, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you.
By the way, you just solved all my audio issues. You're a genius, dude. You know, listen, I'm gonna go. I wanted to play this audio clip for you. Because I've been on this trip for 10 years, and I've been in the jungles, cutting my way out with a machete, searching for the forbidden fruit. But if there was one audio clip that would summate what I'm trying to do, it would be this. So take a listen to it, and we'll come back.
That no matter what happens, world-wise, with business or whatever, however you want to, say it or call it, what we are as people, what we are as humans, never really changes. I mean, we all have a heart. We all come from the spirit. I think what happens is over a period of time or through culture and the cultural erosion and whatever you want to call it, our spirits and our souls get covered with a lot of complexity and a lot of garbage. That what we are as people, what we are as humans, what we are as beings gets covered with a lot of trash. But what we are, in essence, is always there, because it has to be there, because that's what we are. So, when something comes along, like something beautiful or something energetic or something that's inspiring, it rekindles that natural essence that's in all of us. And that's why you see different things happen at different times, because people are made of love. People are made of hope. And if there's an opportunity for something that shows up that illustrates that, then it plugs that energy into people again. So even though things look dark, or even though things look manipulated and whatever you want to call it right now, there's a lot of terminology. What we are is infinite. What we are is always there.
Well, I mean, I really relate to what he said, Ernie. And I mean, it's I don't know that I could say too much more to that, other than it sounds right on to me. It's like whenever people tend to, I can relate it to like doing a record or something, or doing like a band, and it just falls between the cracks, or just doesn't get traction, or just doesn't seem to get any notice, and then doing another record or another band, and right out of the gate, like first day in the studio, everyone is like responding to something, a spirit or a vibe that's connecting to us, and you just know then and there, like when we turn this in to the label or whatever, it's like it's it's got legs, as they say, or whatever. And that, you know, that has, that kind of phenomenon is unique and really speaks to like what he was saying, which is just that, you know, the stuff that cuts through all the tarnished bullshit, you know, is really, you know, is what we fucking you know, hope to be able to hit, you know, like that zone or whatever, musically, spiritually.
How hard
Um,
is it?
that's a real tough question. For me, nothing nothing even comes close to that experience. And I don't know if that's like a combination of adrenaline and you know, the unnatural experience of having so many people's attention at one time, you know, be playing on stage, or if or if it's just the connection of playing with like my boys, as you say, you know, and we are like coming, you know, because there is no in between those moments that are great, that make life worth living for me. You
Yes,
know,
yes.
those great moments that are, you know, uh, the you know, I don't really have, sadly, any kind of discipline or routine or solve for the spirit. It's like, as a matter of fact, I probably am the worst person to, you know, ask that question, because I'm like perpetually, you know, disabled by
Yeah.
these, like
Join the
these,
club, dude. Join the club.
yeah, these
Come on.
gargantuan moments of
No, you can
you
only
know,
affect.
fucked
How can
upness,
so
you know.
here's
Yeah, I mean, well, it's more of a casual thing in accepting, like in this time that we're in right now, or even before this like shutdown period, when I haven't been doing as much playing with people as I have in the past for various reasons. It's more like, you know, um, I'm 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 tending the garden, you know. I'm tending a lettuce patch, and I come in and roll, you
you're
know,
all
skin
dirt
up a
farmer.
doobie
You're a dirt farmer.
and fucking, you know, uh, more like a dirt wizard. But
Yeah.
you know, I just, you know, I
Well, what does a dirt wizard mean?
well, I don't know. I mean, I just what I mean is I like to sit in the garden, you know, and
Hmm.
think,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and then I'll come in the house after smoking a joint and see the drum set there all set up pretty, like, and you know, sit down and, you know, shake a leg, play a little beat, little
Ah, yeah.
boogaloo,
Ah,
whatever,
no,
and
do
then
a little Ringo Starr comp or whatever.
just whatever, like, yeah, whatever kind of, like, whatever's kind of shaking, banging around. I'm not always that inspired to play drums by myself, but sometimes I am, or sometimes I'm inspired to, you know, there's a guitar and an amp and, you know, like whatever. Um, there's a whole bunch of toys to play with, set up in the room, and it's just a matter of like, when in these days, like you know, when the mood strikes, and there's no like, you know, friends and visitors and stuff, just because, like, you know, a lot of my friends have kids, and like we've just got to be, you
Yeah,
know,
I agree with you. No,
concerned.
I'm.
No, well, yeah, you know, I mean, that's the what I have to take into mind is like, you know, I can't afford to get sick, but at the same time, you know, I don't want my friends tripping on like not knowing where I've been, and so if they come over and then go back to their wife and kids and like get them sick, or I mean, and it's the same for me.
It's a vicious psychological cycle. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a total terror mind fuck, is what it is,
Right,
and
but
it's
you
unfortunate.
are
No, I don't mind.
I know you don't care. No, I know you.
It's
Yeah.
cool. It's no, not about caring. I mean, I appreciate it. It's nice to reflect on it and like read it back through, especially like with you kind of as an editor, because it I don't know, it makes the thoughts a little more succinct or something for
No,
me.
I also want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, like I forget her name now, but the girl who was playing drums with Hot Chip in like
Oh my God, you're
20
going so deep in the rabbit hole right now.
2011, 12, 13.
Oh man. What's her name?
She's
What's the band's name?
they're called Hot Chip. They're a band from London,
Okay.
and they're kind of a dancey band, and
What does that mean?
they're great. They're fucking one of my favorite bands.
What is a
But
dancey? What's a dancey band like? Like human rhythm dance or like not mechanical?
no, I mean they're like
Yeah, her
they're
name's
more
Sarah Jones.
they're more
Sarah Jones.
they're more like synth driven
Synth
with
driven. Oh yeah.
they're more like, but not electronica. They're I you would have to listen to them. I mean, I would consider them a band,
I love this stuff.
a current kind of vibe.
Yeah, her name is Sarah Jones.
Yeah, okay,
The
great.
drummer.
Yeah.
So what did
Fucking,
you get off? Why? I mean, when
she's just phenomenal. She's just fucking so in the pocket and so like
man.
so good, like
Man.
so inspiring, and it would blow my mind too, because
Jeez.
I don't know exactly how the sound man. I went up and talked to him about how he was chaining the drums to get the sound that he was getting, and he said he wasn't doing anything unusual, but they just didn't sound. They just sounded so much better and different than like any other bands at that time, that I didn't really believe him. But it's hard to know if they're running triggers or what. But she just had it. She had it going on. I don't think she plays full time with them. Like they have like a rotating cast of drummers. That's the one hot seat in that band. But and then
I mean, did you party down there? What was the scene, and what is it like today? Is it like all gentrified, or I mean, what's the vibe?
yeah, it's sadly ruined in a big way.
Sadly ruined.
The
USA, man. Holy
the ghosts
shit.
of Hollywood and the dirt and grime that used to exist is like
Right, the gut bucket cats, yeah.
is gone, and now there's this new filth that is like just like homeless encampments, and like not the kind of sleaze that I am, that I find myself being somewhat nostalgic about.
I did. No, I mean so it's is it Skid Row area? Or?
Yeah, like it's getting Skid Rowville all over LA, like in Hollywood, underneath, along the freeways, underneath bridges, like in any like crack and crevice that you can pitch a tent. We've got like 100,000 homeless people now here, and they expect it to double in the next year. And these are young, able-bodied kids. These are like 20-year-olds and shit, early 20s, and they're just like rocking a tent, and they want to do drugs, and they're clearly like tweaking hard on meth, because they just collect like so much detritus. It's insane. Like they have,
What do you mean by that? I don't know that.
like they just have like furniture and lamps that don't plug in, and like empty TV.
It's like a Salvador
That
Dali painting. There's like everything's half missing.
Yeah, exactly. And they're trying to like make sculptures out of trash, and like it's just man. I mean, honestly, that the times of living easy, like living free and easy, the last era of that, to my knowledge, was the early days, the original run of like the Beachwood Sparks time period, like pre 9/11, basically. Like, so like the end of the 90s, 2000, 2001, things, it was, rent was cheap, things were cheap. You didn't have to like be all like, encumbered in some, fast paced hustle just to stay afloat, and yeah, it did. It did. It doubled. That's exactly right. I moved out of my two-story, two-bedroom house up on the top of a hill that I could see all the way to the beach, that I was paying $850 rent, and when I moved out and the next people moved in, they were paying $1750. Just like that. Just like that. Everything got reshuffled, and
And you just
that,
count shit.
yeah, 9/11. I mean, if you recall, the price of oil went sky high, and then people like, and then like the amounts of goods all got smaller. Like, you paid the same amount for a box of cereal, but now the box was skinny,
Interesting.
or the ice
I
cream was
missed
no
that.
longer a half gallon. It was
That's
like
so interesting.
1.5 liters. Like everything got reorganized.
Recalibrated.
Yeah, recalibrated, right. So yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, I we getting, like, there were still record contracts to be had, like with labels like Warner Brothers or what have you, and and you were given a living wage, and then budgets to make records and promote them, and you know and there wasn't the kind, those labels were the gatekeepers to success. There wasn't the kind of workaround that there is now with the internet, where you can gain a fan base just by putting your songs out on SoundCloud. But there was the old guard, the old system, like, the publishing companies worked in tandem with the record labels. So then you would get a publishing deal, and that would like add some frosting to the whole picture, and then, yeah, I mean, I always felt pretty satisfied with, like, my station in those days, in terms of like making records and going and playing shows. I don't, you know I don't I
The kind
yeah,
of
like just the music, and then it became the music, and how to work your way around in the studio and produce a recording, and then it became how to run your band independently, as an enterprise, and then it became, just like, pretty much till the point where, like, you're an entirely autonomous entity, outside of any, like, underwriting and any proper record label, and where we're tour managing ourselves and producing our own records, and you know totally in control of everything, which is cool. You learn the game, and you learn how to do all that, but there is something to be said for, like, just making the music, and keeping it, like, kind of simple. And then there's a manager who manages a band, and a record label who markets a band, and
exactly
you know
all this
and
stuff. It alleviates. You can just focus on
Yeah,
making good music.
totally. If you're a motivated, inspired bunch of musicians that are in a band together, then it's a good thing. And if you're lazy and just like wanting, fame and whatever comes along with it, a lot of times those kind of bands would get signed and then they would all get drug habits and then they would never even get around to like releasing a full record. They might get a fucking EP out or something,
They blow the advance on drugs or something.
yeah, yeah, totally. Like this band, the Campfire Girls. I think they got something like $750,000 from Interscope, and they put out 4 songs.
That is a train wreck.
Yeah, and,
I've been looking forward to this, playing this voice for you for a minute. So take a listen to it, and we'll come back.
Okay.
We, definitely, like, that's a good analogy saying that it's playing, because we're not playing, even though we're always trying to have fun, because that's part of our skill set, is to be like,
Danny
we're
boy.
having fun, and you have to have fun and make it an enjoyable experience to go out and at night and see a show, But yeah, constant day-to-day struggle. But I'm on the phone constantly talking to all these different people, trying to line all this stuff up, and you gotta, it's an endless battle just to get that show done. And then you'd be surprised how fast the money goes away just because you got to take care of everyone. There's a bunch of people behind the scenes, and honestly, like, the cards are the card. What is it? The deck is stacked against us.
Yeah, right. No, this. I just want to. I want to read this to you, and then you can. Yeah, you got that right away. That was.
Yeah, he always sounds like he's yawning the entire time he's talking.
I can't figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
He's like
He has narcolepsy. We used to say he was like a white-skinned black dude.
Dude,
Ah.
like 20.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's way late
I know,
though.
I'm
That's
sorry. Yeah,
that's
go back.
yeah.
Go
I mean, that's like
I know.
way
It's a
way
good
late.
idea.
Yeah. Dan, I was putzing around. Dan was building a studio, and his girlfriend at the time was roommates with a friend of mine, and somehow I hit him up like, yeah, like, well, the girl says to me like, oh, my roommate's boyfriend has a studio or whatever. This was like, I think he's still, but anyway, so I hooked up with him, and then he's a fantastic musician, bass player, phenomenal, and as things came up, he's just a really great resource because he has a studio and he's a great player. So it was like one band got back together, the Lilies, and to do these shows, these festival shows with My Bloody Valentine, and we needed a bass player, and I tapped him. And then a friend of mine got a record deal with Mercury, and they made a record, and I tapped him to make to do the live shows for that. This band called Musico Music, and then Beechwood, Farmer Dave didn't want to come back, so I tapped him to play pedal steel and that, and then we were on tour opening for Jenny Lewis, and I remember telling Jonathan Wilson, like, talking Dan up to him, like, yo, my friend has this kill. They hadn't met yet at that point, and I was telling him, like, he's great. This dude plays bass killer, and we have a studio down the street from you. You should come over, which he never did. But then they ended up meeting and like hooking up together and everything. But whether Dan wants to admit it or not, he pretty much owes his whole fucking life. I know, and he really wasn't before. He was so quiet, and like, there was a time we played a festival, and we had to do a rehearsal in the artist in our room, in our hotel room, and he literally fucking fell asleep playing, and then we all stopped playing, and he was just like he said he could hear us, but he couldn't wake up, and he really does have narcolepsy, and it was the weirdest thing. So like he's always
I've seen
been
him on stage running in place. That means he's got to wake up.
yeah, probably, I
Yeah.
guess.
No,
That
I mean, I'm
you
telling
know,
you, man. He said that's because he's getting tired, but that means the narcolepsy's kicking in. I
the
cannot. This is
narcolepsy's kicking in, and
unbelievable.
he can keep playing, which is the
I know
crazy
that,
thing.
not
You know?
only that, he's playing funky as all get out. He's just in
Yeah,
a different state.
totally. But it's the same way. Like playing with him, like some stuff. He's also left-handed, like I am, and we both play right-handed instruments, which is interesting.
I'm left-handed
And
too, man. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, it's another kind of like interesting link in our playing together, and he's very intuitive in the same way that I am. I think we both kind of have a logic to our playing, and it's instinctive, and it just comes naturally. And if we're asked to do stuff that's like outside of our wheelhouse, you know, that can be troublesome. You know,
Has there been an experience like that?
yeah, well, when we were doing the Lilies,
Yeah.
like those songs have a real distinct way they should be played, and it's not big on feel, and
It can be tedious.
no, it's just they're just skewed.
Yeah.
It's more like they're very deliberate parts, you know, and I don't think of Dan as like a right brain or as like a left brained player, like an intellectual, like
It's no, I'm telling you, man.
he's more of like a feel. It's more of like a soul surfer vibe. You know what I mean?
I mean, it was there. It was.
Yeah, we did. I felt like we did, and I remember him bringing me in to record with these with Tom Chapin. Is that his name?
Yeah, the Chapin sisters. Or
The
something?
Chapin sisters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Their dad is Tom, and anyway, and Harry,
Yeah,
their
yeah.
uncle.
I saw him today.
Yeah.
It's weird you said that. Yeah.
But he this was like early days too, and we'd been playing together, and he recommended me to them, and I remember him telling me like, oh yeah, you should use this guy. He knows just what to play. Basic is what he said, or something to that effect. Like without like any instruction, you can just like it'll just be how it should, kind of, and that's that's stuff that I love of like Hal Blaine and a lot of the work Wrecking Crew type vibe is that all those guys just kind of knew instinctively what to play like right out of the gate,
You know what?
Absolutely,
So it's rare to find that in today's world.
I would say, oh, I hear something here. Like this has potential. Like this can go somewhere. It's that feeling to me that is what even inspires me, and why I can understand why Kreutzmann wouldn't practice until the Dead were touring, because in a way it's like you need after a point, like once you've learned how to play and play like well on the fly, going through the routine of keeping your chops up and stuff becomes tiresome. That stuff's inspiring when you're still cutting your teeth, but so for me it's like yeah, exactly, absolutely. Just like the show you saw, like I hadn't actually picked up drumsticks in like at least 6 months.
Dude,
I was trying to like,
it was like
yeah. I mean, I don't really know how it came off in the front of house, but I know what I had to do to try and like shore up, because Beach with Sparks, we know those songs, we played them a lot, we toured them a lot, but we don't really get together before shows now and rehearse. We might get together once and do a run through with like half of the band, but because the band's spread out, a lot of times that doesn't even happen. And we at sound check we'll try and like play a few of the numbers that might be more rusty or something, but so and if I'm not currently playing with someone and like in the zone, then I spend the better part of the first third of the show just like loosening up, and getting there. So but but what it is, to be inspired to play is just that. It doesn't matter if you're making $100, $1,000, or 10 grand. If and you know and it just feels fucking. It's just like really.
Yeah, I mean,
It goes back to that whole thing of getting off. Like. Raga Rock.
Music on the Jake Feinberg Show brought to you by. So it was about pure survival.
Yeah.
After that gig, everyone's like, dude, we've never heard you play like that before.
That's really funny. I've had that experience.
You have?
I mean,
Okay,
I don't,
yeah.
I didn't think that was the effect I had that day.
Yeah, maybe not that day, but it's interesting how the multi-dimensional self works.
It is interesting. There was a show in Europe where I was just as you just described. I couldn't even hold my head up. I mean,
yeah.
I was so sick, and I was playing everything from muscle memory, and just like getting from one end of the song to the other end of the song, and then like and just like, okay, we're almost there, hopefully, not thinking too hard about like how deep in the set are we or anything. And after the show, the guy, the singer, was like that was the best you've ever played, kind of thing, and you know, and I, and I really, that was the sickest I've ever been
Oh my, that's so cool.
for a show,
That's freaking so
so
cool.
it's pretty funny.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, um, you know, why did you call? I mean, we just talked about your pedigree. It wasn't like you went through, the academies or there's no North Texas cats on the bandstand. But why would you call yourselves the Skiffle Players? Horn has education as well. I'm just curious about. I mean, is it just guys that are looking to cook up a groove and make up original tunes and have fun, or because my impression of that is that cats that really didn't know how to play instruments just picked them up and learned how to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what skiffle was, like dudes sitting around on the street corner. It's kind of a couple of things. I mean, the original era of skiffle a is basically, it's just another word for busking. So you would you'd
I did.
skiffle for like your
Skip.
dinner.
You bust your ass up. I did.
Yeah, and that would be like, wash tub bass and juice harp
Yo,
and
dude,
an acoustic
listen, man.
guitar.
By the way, I just want to tell you, I cannot believe you just. I don't know if you're hip to this album. It's on Prestige Folklore. Tom Rush with Fritz Richmond playing wash tub bass. I gotta send it. It's on.
Okay,
Can you imagine
send it
cats
to me.
walking around urban environments with a wash tub bass on the way to the studio? I mean, that's like almost
Ye-
beyond funny.
Yeah, I'm friends with John Sebastian.
Oh yeah, I've interviewed Johnny. I love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great, and we talked a lot about his like rag era,
Dude, Fritz Richmond had the best wash tub bass. Anyway, the point is, so the busking was one thing. But
So the busking was one thing,
Like when you guys
and
were
then
sitting around, it was
and
like having coffee and orange juice and bacon and eggs. It's like, I want to know how you guys settled on that.
well, then because of the English interpretation of skiffle, it was just basically what they called rockabilly,
Right.
and Lonnie Donegan, and um, and so that was basically like rock and roll before, like post-war rock and roll before they had amps and electricity, when they were just like rocking out on acoustic guitars.
Dude, I freaking love it, dude. There was barely,
So
there was like double accordions, no bass.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so originally it was Cass's idea. He wanted to do a show, and he wanted it to be all acoustic, and he wanted me to just play the snare, and I would have to like, use one stick and one brush to get the backbeat and the downbeat in there, and stomp my foot on the stage, kind of thing. So um,
Hold on. I
the,
mean,
that, that was
Horn,
that was
Horn
basically.
was Horn playing upright or what was that?
No, Horn was playing his hollow body Gibson, and eventually we did a show where he played upright. But
Okay, so how did you approach that assignment?
we just, well, we weren't like trying to be
Skiffle players.
purists, and so
Yeah.
like Farmer Dave has his like Farmer Dave station with his gizmos and his groovy keyboard sounds,
Environmental sounds, yes.
yeah, all of that,
Whale
and
sounds,
so Dave was Dave, and then Neil and Cass played acoustic, and Dan played hollow body through an amp, but very tastefully and like fittingly to the tone of the acoustic instruments, and then I just played just the snare, and we did several
Wow.
shows like that, and then we went in the studio, and I didn't really, it was fine to do the first few shows we did that way, and we I think it was billed as the McCombs Skiffle Players during that period, and then
Oh, I love it.
then we decided to like get a little more souped up, and I played a stripped down
Kid.
trap kit
I love
with
this. So what was
with
the
brushes.
kit? What did it look like?
Just like snare, floor, kick, hat, and a cymbal. You know, so just the essentials,
And then
basically.
is that when Horn went over to the string bass, or is he still
Um,
on hollow?
no, he remained on the electric bass through most of that. It was just for, I think, was it our last show we did? I think it might have been the very last show we ever did, which was in LA, and we played with the like that setup on stage, and then for the encore, I grabbed the snare drum, and he grabbed the double bass, and we set up on the floor in front of the stage, unplugged, and actually, played skiffle with no mics, and singing. Everything was just room, you know,
Dude, you're melting my heart right
and it was a sing along song, and it was real easy to get.
now. What was the venue?
It was I can't remember the name
Anyway,
of that place.
the point is that just you and Horn went in up front and started to skiff, or the whole band?
No, the whole band. Like we all were on stage playing. Like I was playing my stripped down
Sure.
drum set, and he was playing plugged in, and Dave was playing his whole
The
keyboard
rig, yeah, the
rig. And those guys, and Neil and Cass were playing acoustic guitars plugged in to amps and stuff. And then for the encore, Dave played melodica,
Oh, beautiful.
and they played their acoustic guitars. Dan played the double bass, and I played the snare drum with brushes. And we did two songs, and that was the very last time we played together. And I think that must have been at least a year and a half ago, maybe longer, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you guys had a gig in 2019. I could be wrong.
No, we didn't. Actually, I'm wrong. The last time we played was the Sweetwater Festival. That's right.
So, but this one was more just like getting down with people, being like, we're skiffling out right now. I think that's
Yeah. We totally skiffled out, and it was a real high. It was like the whole room, um, um, with the sing along song, because it's the first song on the Skiff album, and I think I forget what it's called, but it's like the whoa, I don't know, like it's just like this song where everyone starts low and goes high, uh, and it might be called Whoa, if I'm correct. But anyway, and it was just like a cool little energy, like vibe lifter, and it made me get the giggles, and I made a lot of people get the giggles, and that was really.
I'm trying to find the. Is it Cara? I'm trying to look.
No, not Kara. It's like it's. I think Kara's
Is that the album it's on though?
yeah, that's the album song.
Is it called
I,
Wham?
Wham! Thank you. Wham! That's it. That's it. That's it. Wham is a ton of fun. So anyway,
All right, well,
it's
listen,
there definitely is, but we're kind of all of a time and place where we all kind of like, I feel, we like the Radamakers have spanned time even beyond me.
dude,
I mean,
closer
I'm
walk
telling
with
you,
thee,
I'm
man.
telling you
It's
shit
unreal,
from
man.
way back when, and those guys
Well, I kind of
even
wanted
more.
to talk to you about that. I mean, you knew them you knew them before anybody.
Well, I knew of them much longer than I knew them. Um, but
You knew of them.
yeah, well, I knew of further. I didn't know about Shadowland and their prior incarnations, but
I'm sorry.
I
Were you? Did you play with Further?
no, not at all.
Okay, so then
Uh,
so ultimately, I guess that did you go down to the Lost Night and Radiomakers hanging out, and you're like, yo, you want to cook the groove a little bit? I mean, how did you guys actually begin to make music?
I was playing in the Lilies, and we set up a show in L.A. They set up the show, um, and we played. It was early days of Beachwood before I was playing with Beachwood, and it was a Lily's Beachwood gig at this little funky little shop. Someone's like, I don't know what it was like some kind of weird tool shed shop thing out in the suburbs of LA, way out, and but it was really cool, and so through that night we ended up kind of spending the week together hanging out, and a little bit of MDMA and golf later. Like, we were all pretty fast friends, and and I don't know, it just kind of, that all kind of came together. Yeah, totally. And it was kind of like a summer of love that year.
What year? Can we get a year on that?
I think it was 97,
Wow.
97, 98,
God,
right in there.
Pre 9/11, man.
Oh, way pre 9/11, for sure, for sure.
Jesus, man.
Um,
That's great.
yeah.
Are you saying there was a drummer in Beachwood prior to Sperske?
Yeah, this guy Tom Sanford.
Oh, yeah. So what?
Brent put out those tracks. It's fuck, I forget what the record's called, but it was with Josh, and it was the more rock version. The original Beachwood Sparks vibe was kind of more of like a Big Star kind of vibe sound with two guitars, but it was more of like that's what it reminded me of, at least, Big Star. And then
But,
I joined.
They were sort of like, we like your authentic, honest, Sperske feel. Like, you added up, you were cooking with grease a little bit.
I mean, I think it was just that kind of a natural thing where a lot of bands start, and a common trope in bands is that they'll start with a drummer who doesn't progress with the rest of the band at the same pace. Like, they might be kind of not up to snuff, or they just don't progress at the same rate, or something like of that. I don't know, but the way Dave Grohl joined Nirvana, after Chad Channing kind of like punked out, I don't know. It's just a common occurrence, but
Are you saying that they're not able to find their individual voice within the group?
I think they just like the band starts, and it's more like for fun, and then the band gets good and gets attention, and then the band grows artistically, and the like friend who picked up the drumsticks and was like, I'll play drums, guy can't really like fill out the sound and keep up.
No, he can't set the table because the rhythm cats can set the table for new musical vocabulary expansion. But if you
Definitely, like Pete Best and Ringo Starr, you know what I mean? That kind of thing, Pete Best was a shitty drummer. That's why they kicked him out. They needed to go to the next level. But I'm not saying Tom Sanford is a shitty drummer. I'm just saying that it seemed to me that it was just a natural progression, and my band was on ice, and I felt particularly inspired to want to play with them, and when we did, we came up with the Beachwood Sparks Mach 2 sound, which is like the first album, which is more of like the psychedelic country vibe sound, like more of like a Burrito Brothers, Graham Parsons kind of thing.
What's the name of it? Is it Tarnished Gold?
No, the first album is self-titled. Beachwood Sparks.
So let me ask you,
Well, I think it was I just approach it song by song, and like I said, I don't want to like put a bunch of you know slop on tape, no crap on tap. So I just it's just instincts really, and your ear and your musical taste, and your repertoire and your vocabulary for like musically speaking, like what you can bring to the table, you know.
Tell me about how did you meet Trixie Garcia?
I was back in the artists area at Outside Lands in like a little like where the picture of me and her in this like little teepee.
Such a cool fucking picture.
Yeah, that I had just met her when that picture was taken, and I was talking to someone next to me who was friends with Mickey Hart's kids, and she said, "Oh, you know Mickey's kids?" And my friend was like, "Yeah, yeah," and she's like, "Oh, I'm Trixie, Jerry's kid." And I looked at her, and like all of a sudden her face came into focus, and it was like one part Mountain Girl, one part fucking Jerry, and I was like, oh my god, and I like jumped up and gave her a big hug, and like and then we talked for a while and exchanged numbers, and then she came to some shows that I played in San Francisco at the Fillmore, and we hung out a bit and kept in touch.
With the Lilies or which band?
With Father John Misty. Do you know who that is?
See, now you're going deep into the bag again. No.
He's like he's kind of like an American
Garth Hudson?
songwriter, like current era. He was the drummer in Fleet Foxes. You know that band?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and then he made a record called Fear Fun, and I came on on board after they did one tour of the states, and I came to the show in New York, and we hung out, and um, I had just stopped playing with the band that I had been touring with at that point, and mentioned it just in passing, like, oh, I'm not playing with these guys anymore. I was there doing a showcase with another band, doing like a press junket showcase thing. He like got in touch with me like 2 days later and was like, hey, you want to play, you know, you want to play with me and go on tour with this band? And I was like, fuck yeah, and then that was what happened.
So,
You there?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you just.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mind blower for me, And then when I brought her backstage to meet the guys in the band at the Fillmore, she was like walking around the Fillmore, looking at the pictures of her dad that they have on the walls, like posters of him and stuff, and then she came in the back, and I remember the guitar player that was playing with me at the time, like, couldn't even get a word out of his mouth because he just kept looking at her and seeing her dad's face. Like, she looked so much like her dad, and he was just like grinning and like just staring at her, and kind of like, it was really fun. It was funny.
No, it's just absolutely perfect. Sperske, let's let this breathe, but let's do part 3 pretty soon.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely down. And I'm sure there's like there's more magical, mystical
dude, we just went
stuff.
I think we're pushing 2 hours right now. We got to.
Okay, yeah,
no,
certainly.
No, honestly, this was tremendous, man. My bag, believe it or not, I enjoy learning. My bag of music is not your bag is a different bag, so I'm learning a lot about it, which is cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we share a massive cross section. I mean, everything
It's
dead
called
related
Marsh into the Headhunters, dude.
Yeah, I mean, jazz and folk
and country and
Dan
you know,
Horn and
psychedelic,
Sperske, dude. That's it.
and Dan Horn for sure. Absolutely, Dan the man. He's the shit. You know, but I mean, you know, I kind of purposefully, you know, go a little abstract in terms of like the wheelhouse here, only because, you know, might as well like mention some other shit than
dude, I mean,
you know.
I honestly, everything weaves together. The important thing is that, you know, when I interview Leland Sklar 7 times, it's not about who he played with, Phil Collins. I mean, we'll touch on James Taylor. I'm more interested
He's
in like
my
him playing
favorite
on,
bass player.
Yeah, I'm just like it's your interview. This is your career, and whatever pops up, so be it.
Yeah, Lee Sklar is amazing. He's a fucking genius.
And he's a beautiful human being, as you, my friend. So, bless you, and we'll talk soon, man. And
yeah, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, man. Be cool.
You too, man.
Later.
Stay safe. All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Part 2 in the books with Aaron Sperske. That's it for the Jake Feinberg Show. We will see you tomorrow.